dish. I love freshly grated Parmesan cheese just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. You know, but I'm okay with that. I mean, this is all gonna get pulled apart later. How's it going? Welcome to Foodie Planet. This is basically the place where we just invite people to share their recipes and their ideas about food. Today, I'm gonna be sharing a recipe that I'm pretty sure pretty much everybody loves, as long as you're not a vegetarian or you're vegan, because this has like a lot of different kinds of meat. It's a great one pot, one big dish meal, and that's jambalaya. Jambalaya. It's a very traditional southern dish, of course. I mean, it's obviously famous for being southern. I mean, there's Cajun background in it, Creole background in it. I'm sure you could trace, you know, parts of this dish back to Africa and Spain and, you know, all around the Mediterranean. I mean, there really is just a lot going on in this dish and a lot of really good stuff going on in it. And that's one of the reasons that I love it so much. Probably one of the reasons I really love this is because it's one pot, you know? I mean, there's peripheral cutting boards and knives and stuff, but there's only one big pot that you have to clean up afterwards, and I really like that about jambalaya. But more than that, I think I just love throwing everything into one pot. Anyway, so what we want to do here for jambalaya is get a biggest pot you have. If the sides are like a bowl, that's ideal, but not necessary. I mean, basically just use your biggest pot. This is the kind of thing you want to bring to like outdoor picnics or anything, you know, in the summer, barbecues or whatever like that. It's not barbecue. I mean, people can be using the grill for steaks and stuff, but you can bring something different, you know, bring jambalaya. I mean, people may get tired of the red meat on the grill and want a rice dish such as jambalaya, maybe even just as a side dish. Although it works extremely well as just an entree main course because there's so much going on in it. We've got shrimp, Cajun andouille sausage, chicken. All right, so what we're gonna start with here is putting some canola oil down into our big pot. How much canola oil? I have no idea. I don't even look. There it is. It goes in. Actually, you know, probably enough to fill the bottom of the pot. And we can go ahead and start hitting that with some medium to high heat. What we're gonna start with is doing a very just kind of coarse, rough chop on some garlic. You know, I figure like it's gonna be a big pot. If somebody gets a little garlic, big chunk of garlic in their mouth, there's gonna be so much else, so much other rice and all these goodies in there. It's not gonna affect them too bad. A lot of people, when they do jambalaya, I feel like they use only dry ingredients, dry seasonings, like, you know, onion powder, garlic powder, celery seed, which is all great. I mean, those bring a lot of punch, a lot of power to the mix, but I think there's definitely something to be said for using fresh ingredients because they have their own kind of flavor complexity, and I like fresh things in general, and also I like the consistency that you get out of, you know, some nice crispy celery. I mean, you're not gonna get that out of just the, you know, little celery seed flavoring. I mean, it's great flavoring. You know, I'm gonna add some of that in later, but you know, I definitely want to get some of these fresh vegetables, onions, celery, peppers. I mean, you just can't beat fresh ingredients. Right off the bat, once I just get these things cooking a little bit, is I'm gonna put the chicken down in there. Basically what I do is I wash chicken thighs, keep the bone in, buy them with the bone in. They go down into the pot. Once they're there, just set it and kind of forget it. I mean, you want them to get cooked on the outside really quickly and get a little bit of the fry on there. All right, so now is actually when we're gonna start putting in some of our dried seasonings, you know, like paprika. This is actually probably, I think, the world's most popular paprika. Comes from Hungary. All right, so yeah, you can just give this some good shakes. I mean, you don't have to go easy on it. We're making a big pot here, and yeah, I say you just go for it. Yeah, I do black pepper. Actually, white pepper, that's definitely a Cajun, you know, certainly a Cajun spice that I think is definitely a must-have. Then I'll just do like a little bit of Italian seasoning herb blends. I mean, just because it's called Italian seasoning doesn't mean that it can't be, you know, Cajun seasoning when you get it mixed in there with all these other things. So now that we've got some dried spices in there, oh, and I can't forget cayenne. Obviously, that's like the #1 Cajun spice right there. What we can move on to next actually is cutting up our andouille sausage. And andouille sausage is delicious. It's a really great pork sausage. Down in Louisiana, you know, on the bayou and stuff, the way that they make this the traditional way is by cubing pork. They cube the pork rather than ground it and put it into the casing and then smoke it. And I actually really think that's the best way to do it. It's pretty difficult to find around the country, even in, you know, big mega marts or even a lot of specialty markets, places where the pork is cubed. I mean, it's almost always ground. I think maybe the rest of the process is pretty similar. But if you can find anywhere that has the cubed pork variety, definitely go for that, because that's probably the most authentic. All right, now for probably the most important ingredient in the whole dang thing, and that's the rice. Now, this is a rice dish. I mean, jambalaya, it's a rice dish. That's what it's known for being. That's the whole point of it. You could use just sausage in it, and as long as you had rice, I mean, people would still call it jambalaya. But there's a pretty specific kind of rice that you should use, and that's extra long grain rice, or long grain rice. All right, so we got 1.5 cups of dried rice. It's gonna make 6 cups of cooked rice, and that's a lot of rice, but I wanna feed a lot of people with this. So I'm gonna actually pour this in here right now and keep the heat high for just like maybe 90 seconds, or maybe not even quite that much. But pretty quickly we'll start adding liquid in, and we're gonna do that in the form of tomatoes. I've got a can of diced tomatoes here and a can of like puree tomato sauce. I don't want to add them both all in. I kind of want to like feel it out. So I maybe pour in half the can of the diced tomatoes and start to work that in. Okay, and then maybe I'll pour in a little bit of the tomato sauce, work that in a little bit. You don't need a whole lot of tomato sauce and diced tomatoes in jambalaya, I feel. A little bit goes a long way. All right, so now what we're gonna do is add chicken broth, which is like if you're cooking rice in a rice cooker, we're gonna achieve the same thing with water, but with chicken broth, because it has a lot of flavor. Now I go for low sodium because there's already, you know, a lot of salt in here in the andouille, and we'll even add a little bit of salt. So we don't need extra salt in here, but there is some flavor that's going to definitely come from chicken broth. And you can use, you know, chicken stock. It's a little different, but whatever, same thing. Okay, so now we're going to refer back to the package here. So for 6 cups of cooked rice, we put in 1.5 cups of dry rice, and we need 3 cups of water. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pour this into the measuring cup here. And we've got 2 cups. Go ahead and just pour that over. And then we'll do, you know, I'm not gonna do a whole half cup because there is liquid in the vegetables. You know, there's water weight in them, and the tomatoes definitely have some water. So I'm just gonna do like about a 1/4 cup there. All right, now we really don't want to stir this anymore. We're just gonna leave this be, actually. Basically, all our important ingredients are in there. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this and turn the heat down to low. And just walk away, you know? I mean, there's nothing you really need to do to this thing for the next 20 minutes. I would say I'd even wait the 20 minutes before putting the shrimp in. You don't need to try and put that in at 16 minutes or whatever. We can probably just wait and just look at this in 20 minutes. If it's looking like it's almost there or even good to there, then we can just put the shrimp in, and the shrimp's gonna cook in like 90 seconds. All right, so yeah, we'll start to clean up a little bit and just wait for that to be done, and then we'll throw the shrimp in. All right, well, we got cleaned up here, and it's been 20 minutes since we put our jambalaya on low heat and just been letting it simmer. So the next step is to put the shrimp in. But before I put the shrimp in, I actually want to take the chicken out, and we're gonna kind of try and like shred that up a little bit. You'll see what I'm thinking here, but all right, here we go. So pulling the lid off of this thing, and as you can see, we have a little bit less of soup, and the rice has absorbed a lot of that liquid, which is exactly what we want. All right, so got 4 pieces of chicken here. I'm just gonna pull them all out and let them rest a little bit on this cutting board. It's okay if a little rice comes with the chicken or whatever. It's just gonna get it all back in there. All right, so this chicken we're just gonna let sit for the moment. And this shrimp that I picked up at Pike Place Market, fresh fish market. But yeah, so that's just gonna go right in there. And then what you wanna do is just bury the shrimp just with like a kind of like a small layer of the rice and all the other stuff. And then we can actually put the lid back on this, and that shrimp is gonna cook up really nicely and really even in there, just in the little bed of rice that it's got. All right, so now for this chicken, we have the bone in on all these, but we don't really want the bone in there for when we serve it, because we're trying to just, you know, serve this to in bowls, and you know, it's we don't want that. So what we want to do is kind of like what you would do with pulled pork, is pull it apart the best you can here with 2 forks. And this isn't gonna be like an exact science, and it's probably not gonna go perfectly, but basically just let's get that chicken off the bone as much as possible. So we'll go ahead and lift our lid back up off of here. So as you can see, the shrimp just been in there for, you know, a couple of minutes, and went from the white color that it was to just to where we want it, the orange kind of color that you just expect to see from shrimp. There it is. All right, so now we can incorporate this chicken back in, and it's gonna be boneless now, so we're gonna be able to just get it all in there and serve it up into bowls for people. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna stir this up and serve it up. All right, well, as you can see, we got the jambalaya getting served up here. You know, I like to just do it in like, you know, kind of little bowls and give people, you know, fill the bowls up for them, and if they want more, you know, they can come back for more. But yeah, you know, mostly this is just a really fun dish. It's really great any time of year, but I especially like it in the summertime. But yeah, I hope that you guys, you know, will take this recipe and go and share it with your friends and family and just have a really great time having jambalaya. All right, we'll take it easy.